Okay, good morning, Victor. So today we'll be kicking off with JavaScript. And I believe you already know at this point. You already know what JavaScript is all about. I believe I mentioned it before when we treated in our first class when I told that HTML is all about your content and CSS is all about your design, and JavaScript is your logic, where you put in your calculations, your logical expressions, and so forth. Okay, and then today we're going to do an introductory class to that, and then we're going to advance a little bit further small in writing our first code in JavaScript, so that we'll be very fast with JavaScript. JavaScript is very broad, very broad, so we'll have a lot to learn. Okay, so to kick off, let me introduce you to kick off. Let me introduce you to what we call variables. Okay, variables. Okay, so now what are variables? You know, variables are containers. Variables are data containers. Good. And variable are data containers. Basically, what do? They hold information. Now, you're going to hear me talk about variables a lot in JavaScript in this class. We're going to talk a lot about variables. So first, that's why I wanted to introduce you to the term variables so that you will know what it means, what I'm trying to say. Okay, sorry, a moment. Okay, right. So you know what I'm trying to say, because you're going to hear me say variables a lot. So just picture variables as a container or a small box that holds information. Now you're going to do a lot with those variables, those containers. You're going to make calculations with those containers. You're going to transmit those containers. You're going to do a lot of things with those containers. Okay, but I'm not going to be using the word containers. I'm going to be using the word variables. Okay, so just know this: variables are data containers. What do? They hold informations. Okay, and then next thing you're going to hear me talk a lot in this class are what I call variable declaration. Basically, this is what we're going to do in this class. We're going to do a lot of variable declarations. I'm still going to show you what I mean by declarations. Okay, I'm going to show you what I mean by declarations. All right, so sorry. Now, these informations that variable holds, this information that variable holds comes in different types. Informations are in different forms. And they are the text, the numbers, and then the Boolean. Right. So these informations that we have been talking about, like these informations that are being stored in the variables, they are in different forms. They are the text, numbers, and booleans. And if you even think about it, any informations, any data, or anything you're saying are usually in these three formats. Let's say I ask you, what is your name? And you say, my name is Victor. You are giving me an information. My name is Victor, which is a text. I ask you, how old are you? You say, I am 20 years old, 19 years old, however old you are. You are giving me an information, which is your age, which is that 20, you see, which is numbers here. And then let's say I ask you, you're a male, yes or no? Are you a male, yes or no? You say yes or true. true or false, yes or no, that's Boolean. You know what Booleans are? Booleans are true or false, yes or no. There are only two options, true or false. It's either it's true or it's false. Okay, so basically all informations you can come across in this world are in these three forms. It's either is a text, or is a number, or is a Boolean, a true or a false. Okay, now these informations can further be broken down into what we call data types. Into what we call data types. Okay, which are the text, the numbers. We're going to work with these data types a lot. Okay, which are the text, the numbers, the booleans, the arrays slash lists, slash lists, and then the JSON. Sorry, not yes, the JSON, the JSON or map, as some people will call it. Yeah, I believe you already come across this JSON before. You must have come across the word. JSON simply means JavaScript object notation. JavaScript object notation. Okay, that's the full meaning of JSON. So, what are these data types? Now, remember, as I told you, informations are usually in these three forms. They are always in these three forms, whether it's a text or a number or a Boolean expression, true or false. Okay, now these data types are like more broken down of these informations. Okay, they're like classifications of these informations when it comes to programming. Okay, so in general terms, these are your informations that you have: text, numbers, booleans. But now in programming, it is further broken down into these that you're seeing right here: text, numbers, booleans, arrays slash list, JSON slash map. Okay. Now we're going to walk through. I'm going to show you how all these things looks like when you coding it, like how to code it, how to write them. Yes, basically how to write them so that you see the difference, because it's not the same way you write a text in code. It's not the same way you write a text in numbers. So it's not the same way you code text. You don't code it. It's not the way you code text that you code numbers, that you code booleans and arrays and JSON. All of them have different formats. Okay, they have different variable declarations. Yes, that's the right term to use. They have different variable declarations. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do all that. Okay, so I think let's just head straight to it. How to declare variables in JavaScript. Good. Okay, so now declaring variables in JavaScript, there are there are four main steps that you need to know. There are four main steps that you need to know. Very, very important. Four main steps that you need to know, which are the modifier, the variable name, the assignment, then the value. These are how you declare. Like these are like the four important steps that you need to know when declaring a variable: your modifier, your variable name, the assignment, and then the value. These are very, very important. Okay, so and then I told you the data types. These are the data types, and then I said that we're going to look at how you can now declare these variables. Okay, we'll look at how we declare these variables. And then I said that, okay, to declare these variables, you need to know these four things, these four core steps: your modifiers, your variable name, your assignment, and then your value. Don't worry, I'll still show you. I'll explain what modifiers are, what variable names are, what assignments are, and then the value, what it is, and how it looks like. Okay, so that you get the difference. Okay, but just know that these four things are very important, and they come sequentially. modifier first, variable second, variable name second, assignment third, value value fourth. Okay, they come sequentially, one after the other. You don't skip any of them. Okay, so first off, what are modifiers, or how do modifiers look like? Good. So these are your modifiers. These are how modifiers look like. So when using modifiers, we use um, three words. Let me put that. There are three words. Or is it three? No, there are no functions. Okay. We use three words. Let me like that. Let me like that. We use three words, which are the var, the let, and the const. Okay. Modifiers. Remember modifiers: var, let, and the const. Okay. I'm going to explain. I'm going to give you the pros and the cons of each and all these things. Var, let, const, so that whenever you're coding, you can decide to use any one you want to use. Okay, because normally I'll give you everything. You're not left to decide, okay, let me pick this one, and then pick this one. Okay, so the var, let, and the const. Now, what are the features? Now, what are the let features? Okay, what are the advantages of let? What are the advantages of the let and the disadvantages of the let? Okay, I'm going to give you the pros and cons of everything. Okay, so for the let, you can reassign a value to a variable declared with let. Wait, let me break down this English better for you. Let me break it down for you. Let's see. You can create two or more variables with the same variable name, but you can reassign the value. Good. Don't worry, don't mind all this plenty English. You're still going to see how it looks like in the code. Okay, I'm just putting these words out there so that when you're revising it, okay, you'll be like, oh, this is what you mean by you can't create the same variable names. You can have two or more the same variable names, but you can assign a value. Okay, let me just list it out there for you so that when you're revising, it makes it easier for you. So this is like the feature of the let. With let function, or with let, you can't create two or more variables with the same name, but you can reassign the value. Okay, that's what it is. Then for the for the const, let's do const first. For the const, you can't create two or more variables with the same variable name, and you can't reassign the value. So for the let, you can't create two or more with the same name, but you can reassign the value. But for the const, you can't create and you can't reassign. You see, so the const is like the worst of it all. It's like the worst of it all. Then let's see the var. Then for the var, you can see that you can create two or more variables with the same name, and then you can also reassign the value. Okay, so now get this. If you can write it down somewhere on your own, or draw a table or something. With the let, you can't create two or more variable. You can't create two or more same variable name, but you can reassign the value. But with the const, you can't create two or more variable names. Like you can't create two or more same variable names, and you can't even reassign the value. But now for the var, you can create two or more, and you can also reassign. So the var is more flexible when it comes to the usage as a modifier. Okay, is more flexible. So mostly people use this var most times than let on const. Okay, but you still see const a lot in people's code because especially if they want it to be more restricted, they want their variables to be more restricted. Okay, they want it more restricted, so they use the const. So all these things, the three of them are being used. So you'll be like, oh, since this one is more flexible, why don't I just continue and using blah, 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 blah. No, there are sometimes that you want your code to be more restricted sometimes. Okay, you don't want it to be so flexible. Because get this, the more flexible it is, the more prone you are to errors or bugs in your code. But the more restricted it is, the less chances of you having an error in your code. So that's why people still use const to for that restrictions. Okay, but at least I've given you the three, so that whenever I write in your code, anyone you decide to use, you can use any of them. Okay, so these are three main modifiers that we use. Okay, now three modifiers that we use. Okay, now what about the variable name? So the variable name, simply means nomenclature. Now, what I mean by nomenclature, rules of naming variables. Okay, so there are some certain rules when naming a variable. Okay, and I believe you already know what nomenclature is. Yeah, pretty sure you guys did it in let's say, I think it's English language. In your secondary school. Yes, I'm pretty sure either junior class or senior class. Yes, you guys must have done nomenclature. Nomenclature is probably just simply the rules in naming. Okay, but now we're now putting the rules in naming variables. And then there are three core rules, very, very important rules that you need to know. The first rule is that there must not be a space in your naming between the variable names. That's the first one. There must not be a space between your variable names. See how this my you see how I wrote my HTML class, HTML space class. Okay, that's because I'm naming a folder. I'm naming a folder. There is no space. But if you are naming a variable, as an example, see what I did here. I don't know. I'm pretty sure I don't. Maybe when I started, you might be thinking, oh, am I making a mistake? Am I making a mistake? It's not a mistake. I intentionally did it because I know I was going to use that example. So see what I did here, variable name. I just created a name for my variable. I just created a name for my variable. Rule number one, there must not be any space. So while creating a name for a variable, you do not add spaces. Something like this. So instead of me doing variable space name, I joined everything together, variable name. That is how you name your variables. Okay. Now rule number two, the variable must not start with a number. Okay, it must never start with a number. Let me example, this is my variable name that I used here. Something like this. One variable name. This is an error. It will flag an error for you by coding. Okay, it's not flagging an error right now because I commented all these things. I believe you already know how to do comments. I showed you an example of it when we were doing, I think it was CSS or HTML. Yes. So you already know how to do comments. So I commented this, that's why it's not flagging an error. But on a real code or on a real coding environment, these flags an error. While naming your variable, you don't start with a number. You can put a number at the end, put a number at the end, variable name one, or you can put it in between variable one, whatever you want to do. That concerns you. Okay, but it must not start with a number. That's the rule number two. Then the rule number three, very, very important. Very, very important is, okay, let me do this. Now we know about special characters. I forgot to mention special characters. Okay, good. It must not start with a number or special characters, all special characters, sorry. You know what special characters are? All those your backslash, dots, all those special characters, yes. All those punctuation marks, I think it's punctuation marks. No, some special characters are not, but you get what I mean. So your variable name must not start with a number or a special character. That's for rule number 2. Then rule number 3 are the naming patterns. Your naming patterns, you must know this pattern. And now, what are these patterns? Good. These are the 4 naming patterns that we have. These are the 4 naming patterns that we have. So while naming a variable, you have to know, you must not actually know the name of these patterns, but just know what it looks like. So the first one is the camel case. So what does this camel case look like? Okay, so I'm gonna use okay, let me use this word. Let me use this word. Let me use this word, year of graduation. Okay, year of graduation. Let me use it as just as an example. Okay, so the camel case. So while using the camel case to name your variables, how does it look like? Here's an example of how it looks like. Year of graduation. So this is how it looks like. So while using the camel case, your first word, which is this year, which is Y, you see here, these are just like an example. I just use this word year of graduation, and then we're going to use it in these 4 places so that you see how it looks like. So in the camel case, your first Y is in lowercase. Y, the beginning of all other words, at the beginning of all other words are in uppercase. So Y is in lowercase, O uppercase, G uppercase. Okay, that's it for the camel case. Then the snake case, this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like for the snake case, an underscore. So for the snake case, everything is in lowercase. There is no first character being in uppercase. So O is no longer in uppercase anymore. G is no longer in uppercase. Everything is in lowercase. Just that now the difference is that now this underscore. You know what underscore is? This underscore. I believe you know how to use underscore. If you don't know how to use underscore is shift your hyphen button. Okay, shift hyphen, that's your underscore. Okay. So year of graduation, what the market is the underscore. The next one is the Pascal case. Now looking at the Pascal case, okay, I even use the Pascal case here as an example. But remember our naming rule is that there must not be any space between the variable names. Okay, there must not be any space. So year of graduation, there's no space. And then for the Pascal case, is that each word has like the first character is in uppercase. Y is in uppercase, O is in uppercase, G is in uppercase. That's it for the Pascal. And then now for the last one, which is now the lowercase. The lowercase is that everything is in lowercase. There is no underscore. There is no one of them being in uppercase or anything. Everything is just lowercase. Everything. Okay. Even if you have hundreds of words here, everything will continue to just be in lowercase. Okay. Now these are the three core rules in naming for your variable name. Very, very important. So now we have treated modifier, in which I told you about var, let, and const, and then their features. We've treated variable name, in which I told you it's all about nomenclature and gave you the 3 rules that you must follow. Very, very important. And now next we'll be going to assignments. So what is assignment all about? Assignment is just the equal sign. It's just the equal sign. So assignment, the equal sign is used to assign a value to a variable. So it's just assignment. How do you use assignment? You just use equal to sign. You have placed the assignment. Okay, and then the value is the information that is stored in a variable. Okay, the information that is stored in a variable. Now I'm going to show you example of where I use these 4 rules: modifier, variable name, assignment, and value. I'm going to show you an example where I use the four of them to create variables. Okay, create variables for you. Okay, so let's do some small variable declaration. And now remember, I told you before that the way you present a text, which is a string, the way you present a text, which is a string, is not the same way you present numbers. Okay, and it's not the same way you present Boolean. But all of them still follow this core four rules, which is you must have your modifier, your variable name, your assignment, and value. And all of them still follow these four core steps. But just that some things change along the way. Just small things change along the way. And we're going to treat for the string, which is the text, treat the one for numbers, treat the one for Boolean, treat the one for array, treat the one for JavaScript, and then we'll call it a day. Okay. So, but I'm going to show you how all these things look like. Okay, good. So now representing a string, let me give you a small example of what it looks like. So let me say, let's name I'm writing myself. Let's say let's your name equal to Victor. Very good. So right now I just did what I did right now is I just did a variable declaration. That's what I just did right now. A variable declaration. See, I just used just in this thing right here, this is my one line of code. I applied these four steps that I told you of. First one is my modifier. I told you they are sequential. You can't skip it. They are sequential. First one is my modifier, in which I told you you can use a var let by const. So and see it here. I use the let. First one modifier. Second one variable name. I used your name. Now this variable name is this var let and const are like hard coded into your VS code. Like it comes with JavaScript. Okay, it's not something you can be like, okay, let me use other than var let and const. Let me know if I can use any other thing. No, if you use any other thing, you are no longer using a modifier. Modifiers are just three: var let, const. Okay, just know that. Okay, and then the variable name is something that you can actually just modify on your own. Okay, because see here, I use the variable name of graduation here, but here I'm using your name here. Okay, so this one is something that you can just decide to just name yourself. You can decide to change this your to my name. Let my name equal to Victor. So this is my variable name, and then this is my assignment. I told you the assignment is just equal to sign. Okay, this is my assignment, and then this is my value. Remember the value, the information that is stored in a variable, Victor. So just right here, I've already applied these four steps: modifier, variable name, assignment, value. And I remember I told you that they are sequential. You can't skip anyone. They are sequential. So let me do this. You see, it's flagging me an error. It's flagging me an error. And AI is telling me that, okay, no, this is wrong. The code is telling me that this is wrong. This is how it's supposed to be. But it's already flagging me an error. You are seeing this red line here that is flagging me an error. Why is it flagging me this error? Because I did modifier, assignment, variable name, and then value. Whereas it was supposed to be modifier, then variable name first before assignment. But now assignment now came before variable name. That's why it's flagging me that error. Okay. And if I change it back to the way it was, you see, it's no longer flagging that error. So it's very, very important that you know these steps. This one comes first, this one comes second, this one comes third, this one comes last. You can't carry the last and put the second, carry the first and put the third. No, you will have an error. You have an error straightforward. Okay. So let me do another variable declaration. Let me do another variable declaration. Let me say let my name equals I use okay, I just use Victor. Let me see. Maker. Good. Now remember the rule. I intentionally did this. Remember our rule for let feature. Why using let? You can't create two or more variables with the same variable name. Okay. Now see this. I already have a variable name called my name. I use let. And now again, I'm now using let again. Now, okay. So these are now two variable names, and I'm using let to call them, which is wrong. It will flag me an error for doing that. It's flag me an error. But let's say I change this my name to your name. You see, I've changed the variable name. The first one is my name, which is no longer flagging that error. Because with let, you can only use one variable name. And remember, I told you that people use this most of the times for restrictions. Because there are some times that you are writing a huge lines of code and you can't really remember, okay, have I used this variable name before? Now, if you have been using var, okay, let me change this to var. Let me change this to var. You see, I changed it to var my name, var my name. I changed it to var my name. It's not flagging me an error. It's not flagging me an error right now. But when I run this code, it's going to flag me an error because the code will be confused on which one I want. Victor, or am I trying to call Emeka? Because two of them have the same variable name, my name. Okay, so var is flexible in the sense that it won't flag you that error now, but later on it will flag you that error. When you're not running your code, you'll not be seeing errors up and down, up and down. Your code is not working. Why? Because you are using two same variable names. That's it for var, and the code is confused on the one that you actually want. Which one do you want? Okay, because you have my name everywhere. Okay, but now if you use a let or a const, let will not allow you to do that. Let will tell you, okay, you already have my name. Oh, see it here. Let will be like, okay, you already have my name. And when I write another my name, it will not work. So let will flag you that error immediately. That okay, you'll be like, var is good now. Since var is just since var is and then I couldn't hear anything. Okay, so good. So let me just recap because I think my network just fluctuated small. All right, so you but if you have been watching the video, you see that you don't see the essence why we use let. Let flags you the error immediately. But var you let you just be going, be coding and be going. But when you now run your code, it will not work. Okay. So you now see why I use let and var for all these things. Okay. So now here's another thing that I want to show you. So while writing a string, you notice that I put it on double quotes. So while writing a string, you write your modifier, your name, like your variable name, you assign it, and then your value, you put it in the quote, a double quote. Now you can actually put it in double quotes, or you put it in a single quote, or you can actually put it on a back tick. So let me say Let me now use const this time. So I'll just make sure I'm using everything. Const, let me say school name. Okay, let me say my full name. Yes, let me say my full name. Const my full name. Let me just change this one. Let me say const my full name. And let me leave that let. So I'm not confused with plenty words. Good. So let me say const my full name. And then I use the back tick. Good. The back tick. All right. So these are the three ways you can actually put your strings in. Okay. So you can actually put it on a double quote, on a single quote, or in a backtick. But now I'm going to show you advantages of all these things. Okay. Remember, there are reasons why we do all these things. Okay, why are we using double quotes? Why are we using single quotes? Why are we using a backtick? I'm going to show you an example. Now, say this. Let me go to the double quotes. Okay. The advantage of the backtick. Advantage of the backtick is that you can actually write multiple lines. You see, I'm clicking space. It's going. It's adding lines, adding lines, adding lines. You can write on multiple. I can decide to write a couple of things here. Put a couple of things here. Just showing an example. You can write on multiple lines when it comes to backtick. But now, when it now comes to let me do the same thing here. But when that comes to double quotes, you can't do that same thing. See, I just went to another line and it's already flagging me an error. See, it's flagging an error, unexpected keyboard or identifier, unterminated string literal. So it's just flagging an error. Okay, this is not working. So if you don't actually know the rules about all these things, you might not actually know that, okay, these are your problem is from. This is inside double quotes. Writing multiple lines. But let me change this now to back. See, it's no longer flagging that error. I change double quotes to backtick. It's no longer flagging me the error. Let me change it back to double quotes. Flagging the error. But if I change it to double quotes, you can't write it. It's big on my plenty lines and like hundreds, thousands. Okay. So now I think that's it for how to represent a string. Next one is representing a number. Good. Let me use. Thank you. Thank you, VS Code, for giving these suggestions. So representing a number. Remember, like I told you that all of them, all the data types, these are my data types. When I say data types, I'm talking about these text, numbers, booleans, arrays, Java, sorry, JSON. These are the things I'm talking about. Oh, I forgot one. Date time. I forgot to mention one. Date time. Okay, good. So whenever I talk about data types, I'm talking about these guys right here. These are what I'm talking about. So, and I told you that representing, no matter the data types you're trying to represent, text, numbers, booleans, anyone you're trying to represent, all of them follow these 4 core steps, which are modifier, variable name, assignment, and value. All of them follow it, just that some things, small things change along the way. Very small things change along the way. Okay. And now if you look at your string, you see your modifier, you see your variable name, you see your assignment, you see your value. Same thing here. Now, if you go to the number, see your modifier, see your variable name, then you see your assignment, and then you see your value. But now, what is now changing here? If you notice at the value part, you see that for strings, they are being put inside a quote. Is either a double quote, a single quote, a backtick, but they are being put inside those quotes, these 3 things. But now, for numbers, they are just there. You don't put them inside anything. You don't put them inside anything. So, but if I decide to put this my 25 now inside this, it's no longer treating this as a number. It is now treating it as a string. It's no longer treating it as a number. It's not treating it as a string. Okay, but if I remove those hoods, it starts treating it as a number. Okay, these are just the difference between the string, how you write the string, and then number. Remember, uh, remember your variable naming. This right here. Okay, so I don't know if you guess it right, but right here we just use the camel case for naming. See here, first one is lowercase, then the next two are in uppercase. That's it for naming. Okay, that's it for naming this thing, representing numbers. The next one, representing a boolean. Okay, representing a boolean. So see this now. See an example here that we have. Representing a boolean. Remember your modifier, your variable name, your assignment, your value. Modifier, variable name, assignment, value. Very, very important. Very, very important. Now see this modifier, variable name. But for boolean, booleans can actually be just two things. Remember that I told you, boolean is just is either it's true or it's false, is either it's yes or it's no. There is no maybe, there is no in between, there is no I'm not sure, there is no is like no. Is either you are married or you are not married. Okay, is either you're a male or you're not a male. Sorry, is either you're a male or a female. Okay, true or false, this or this. Is either it's black or it's white. There's no gray. There's no shades of white. There's no no, 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 no. Leave all those words. Is either it's white or it's black. Is either it's the truth or it's the lie. Okay, is either it's this or that. Is either you're up or you're down. Okay, that's it about bullying. So in bullying, is either it's true or it's false. Okay. Now, notice the difference in the value. The value, there is no quotes. There is no single quote, double quote, a backtick or a backtick. You just put true or false there for you. Okay, just put true or false. That's it for representing a boolean. And now we're going to represent the next one, which is representing a list, representing an array or list. Good. Let me use this one as an example. Good. Representing an array list. Now, remember, wait, let me cancel this. Okay, let me see it. Remember, like I told you, all of them follow those 4 steps, which is your modifier, your variable name, your assignment, and then your value. Modifier, variable name, assignment, value, modifier, variable name, assignment, value, modifier, variable name, assignment, value. Okay, but now the sweet thing about the list. Okay, now before that, when writing the list, you notice something. When writing a list or an array, you notice this. You cut this first. You notice this. Sorry. You notice this. This square brackets. So when writing a list, we use the square bracket. So immediately we put this square bracket, we're telling the code, okay, right now I'm about to create a list. Right now I'm about to create a list. And just like, just like name implies list, which means that, okay, it's going to contain a number of things, okay, not just one, not just two, or maybe one or two, depending. But you just know that, okay, it's going to contain things, okay. So that's just how you write, that's just how you represent a list. Okay, a list can be empty. It's not a must that something must be inside a list. As long as you have put your brackets, your square brackets. Just having a square bracket like this alone means that your list is empty. But having things inside it means that, okay, it's no longer empty. Okay, so let me put back my value. And now we just created a list of fruits where we have apple. Remember, when you're writing strings, is either you put them in double quote or single quote with a backtick. That way, you're trying to tell the code that, okay, this is a string. And as you can see here, you see apple, banana, orange. So I just created a list of fruits. And now remember, after you have written your first one, take note of this comma, very important. So this comma separates your items. So apple 1, comma, banana 2, comma. So that comma separates your item. Very, very important. If I remove this comma right now, you see it flags me an error. Flags me an error. So it's expecting a comma unless I remove this quote between these guys. Unless I remove these guys. So it's now be like, okay, there's a fruit called banana orange, but there's no fruit called banana orange. Unless there is, me, I don't know. So this is your item. That separates your item. See it's here. Same thing here. Remember when I told you when you're writing numbers, you don't need uh, quotes for them. You don't need quotes, double quote, single quote, backtick. You don't need them. Just write them the way they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 8. But all of them are separated with commas. And that's the sweet thing about uh, arrays or lists. Lists can contain strings, as you can see here. They can contain numbers, as you can see here. And funny enough, they can even contain combination of both the numbers and the, let me say, let's good. Let me not confuse you yet. Good. Let's mix array. So let my modifier mix array my variable name. This, like I told you, variable name is something you can create on your own. Give it any name you want, but just make sure you follow those rules, which is 1, there must not be any space. 2, there must not be, it must not start with a number or a special character. And then 3, your naming patterns. Very, very important. Okay, so as you can see now, this my list contain a string, a number, and a boolean, and they are all separated by a comma. So that's the sweet thing about lists. They can contain varieties of things, varieties, a whole lot of things. Okay, and then the next one that we're going to dive into is how we represent a JSON. Okay, how we represent a JSON. Sorry, a moment. Okay. Let me see if I can be done with this class in the next 20 minutes. Next 20 minutes we should be done. Very, very fast. Representing a JSON or a map. Good. Representing JSON or a map. Okay, so let me extend it more. So representing a JSON or a map. So it's just basically it's still the same as your list. Just that the difference between them is that these just use curly brackets. I mean, you already know, if you look at where you put in your square brackets. I just want to make sure I don't run into that. Don't run into that audio issue again. Very good. Okay, so representing a JSON, the only difference between it and array is that for arrays, you use a square bracket. But for JSON, you use a curly bracket. That's the difference between the two. Okay. And now, okay, I think I forgot to mention this also. For the JSON, and the array, you can actually write in multiple lines. See, I'm putting these guys in multiple lines. It's not flagging me an error. Putting this my list in multiple lines is not flagging me an error. Same thing with the JSON. You can decide to put all these things in a single line or in multiple lines. Same thing, it will not flag you an error. Unlike the string, immediately you put it on multiple line, it will flag you an error straight up. Unlike those ones, your list and your JSONs, you can write them in multiple line as long as they are within your brackets, your curly brackets or your square bracket, depending on the one you're trying to represent. Okay, so I just remember initially your modifier, your variable name, which is now I call person. Let me change this to Victor. Variable name, variable name, assignment, and then your value, which are these right here. Which are these guys that are inside the curly brackets are your values. Okay, just that we now use curly brackets to notify you that okay, this is a JSON. And I remember immediately I'm done specifying that okay, the name of this person is Victor. I put a comma. The age of this person is 25. I put a comma. Is he married? False. No comma. But if I want to put something else again, I put a comma, come down here, and then put hobbies, reading, coding, traveling. Okay, reading, coding, and do a comma, come down here, let's say true. Actually, there, true. Okay, let's say I want to add something else again. Remember, once there's something else, add your comma because your comma separates them. Add comma, do this, let's say year of graduation. Year of graduation 2020. So the last one does not need a comma. Same thing here. See, this orange does not need a comma because it's not separating anything else again. It's the last one, so it doesn't need that comma. But the subsequent ones needs the comma. Very, very important. Yeah. Okay. So that's it for the JSON. That's it for the JSON. And then let me just do one small one for representing a date time. Good. So representing a date time, let's say, remember your modifier, your this thing, your variable name, your assignment, and now representing the date time, and now do new date. So this new date is more like it comes with JavaScript. Okay, it comes with JavaScript. So what this new date does is that this new date fetches your current date. So when I run this code, don't worry, I'll still show you how to run codes. When I run this code, it's going to fetch me today's date. It's going to fetch me today's date as long as I called the variable name current date time. Sorry, current date. As long as I call that variable name current date, it's going to show me this new date, which is my current date. And then look at this one, birth date. Let's say you're born in 1995, 15th is June, right? May. Well, 05, anyone. So when I run this code, it's going to show me this date that I put here. So this new date specifies your current date. But then if you now put something inside the bracket, it prints out whatever you put inside that bracket. But if you leave it empty, it just gets your current date for you. Okay. So that's how you represent date time. Okay, so let me see how much time I have left. I said 20 minutes. I say I'm like 10 minutes more. Okay, 10 minutes is enough. Let's go further small so that on your next video you won't have to skip all these things. Okay, so down going down further. So right now we have already trashed. I believe you already know what variables are. You already understood what variables are, how to make variable declarations, which are using modifiers, variable names. Which are these 4 steps. Then what are the different data types, text, numbers, booleans, the rest. Then what modifiers are and how to use them. Then the rules in variable naming and the patterns. The assignment, which is very simple, assignment equals, is very easy. And then the value and how to represent all these things. How to represent a string, you see it. How to represent a number, you see it. How to represent a boolean, list, JSON, data, you see all of them. Now let me know if I can show you just how to do small calculations. Just small calculations so that call it a day. So now we'll be talking about operations of variables, how to use these variables and do calculations, just small calculations. Okay. And now I'll show you some of the operators that we use. Some of the operators that we use, which are the addition, good, which are the addition, which you know, plus, subtraction, minus, multiplication. Multiplication is now the asterisk. Okay. Division is now the this backward slash. Yes. Modulus is now the percentage. I believe you already know what modulus is. Modulus is like finding the remainder of something. Okay. When you do, let's say you do 10 divided by 3 to give you 3 remainder 1. So which means that if you do 10 modulus 3, your answer is 1. Okay, because we are looking for the remainder. Modulus just finds the remainder for you, not the whole number, but the remainder. Okay, then exponentiation is raised to power. Okay, that one is double asterisk. So let's say you do something like 10 double asterisk 2. That you're just trying to say 10 raised to power 2. Okay. Don't mind all this painting English. It's just 10 raised to power 2. That's it for. Okay, yes, that's it for the operators. Then let me show you another one, the next one, which are logical operators. Good. Logical operators, which are these. No, let me not use this AI suggestion to not explain it very well for you. So logical operators can be divided into 2, or let's say 3. Divided into 3. Logical operators. So when I say logical operators, I'm talking about the equality, which is the equal to, the inequality, which is greater than, yes, greater than, less than, greater or equal to, right? Yes, than, less than or equal to, and then not equal to. Good. This is it for the equality. Then the next one is the joiners. Now, don't mind, I don't use my plain English. I'll show you how it looks like. I think whenever you see it on the code, see, okay, you'll be like, oh, this is what I'm trying to say. So what are these joiners? So these joiners just connects more than one logical operations. Good. So joiners are just used to connect more than one logical operations. Okay. So then how do these joiners look like? Good. These are how the joiners look like. The joiners, the first one is the and, second one is the or. I'm pretty sure you must have heard of this logic before. And this is that, so when you say and, this is the symbol that we use, a double and, okay, which is that both conditions must be true for this to be true. I think you must have done something like that in your truth table in mathematics. I think it's either mathematics or data processing, one of the two. But I think it's mathematics. Okay, so both conditions must be true for this to be true, or the or is that at least one condition must be true, and this is the symbol that we use for the or. This is the symbol that we use for the or. Shift forward slash. So where you have your forward slash, just do shift forward slash. You see your or there. Okay, you see the symbol for the or. So for and, both conditions will be true for it to be true. Then the or, at least one condition must be true. Okay, so let's do small calculation so that we'll see how these are plenty talk that we have been doing. These are plenty Ohala. Let's do small calculation. So bear with me. I'm going to type something very fast. So I'll give you an example. So let's say x times y, plus, where's my plus? Say x times y plus 10 minus, just trying to do small calculation, x divided by 2 times, where's my times again? Times y exponentiation 2. And just do small calculation. I'm going to do another one and call it a equal to 10, equal to 10, b equal to 5. Let's do b equal to 5. And let's do c going to be equal to a exponentiation b plus b minus. I'm just putting on random things in my head. 2, let's do divided by 5. Okay, then let me do one more. Let's say d is equal to, sorry, d is equal to n modulus 2. Good. And then let's say e is equal to 10 modulus 3. Yes, let's do 10 modulus 3. Thank you for that suggestion. 10 modulus 3. I think let me also write this one. Let me try this one now. We'll have, okay. No. So this is, I just wrote a code for your for your operations, for your operators, using plus, subtraction, multiplication, division, modules, and multiplication. Okay, and let me write another one for your logical operators. So once you run the code, we'll see everything once. Okay, just run the code, we see everything once. So okay. No, before that, let me do something first. Okay, let me just run this one first so that you understand what I'm about to do next. Okay, so you know in your HTML, how in your HTML and CSS, whenever we want to see our results, we use a live preview or live server to now see what it looks like. But now, JavaScript, there is no live server or live preview. It doesn't work like that. There's no live server or live preview. But now, you know, they're asking, okay, how do we now see our result? This calculation now that we just did, how do we now see it? How you see it is that you see it in your terminal. Remember, I believe I already mentioned terminal to you before in your first class. So this is how you access your terminal at the upper left. See your terminal, just click on terminal. You see new terminal, click on new terminal. See your new terminal. So whatever calculations that we do is going to show here. The result is going to show here in our the result is going to show here in our terminal. Okay, but now our work is not yet done. It's not yet done. Okay, we need to implement one more thing. Okay, you know, I don't know, you must have come across a Python code before where they will be like print hello world. When now run the code, it's now going to show you hello world. Okay, now JavaScript is similar, but just that in JavaScript case, we don't use print. We use what we call console.log. So what I just did is that I did, instead of print z, I just did stop showing me this suggestion. I don't need it. I don't know why this guy is showing me all these 80 suggestions. Okay, so instead of now doing, don't mind this AI suggestion, don't mind it. Okay, so instead of now saying print Z, I just did console.log Z. So in JavaScript, we use what we call console.log. So what I just told it to do is that after you are done with all these calculations, because right now it has actually done the calculation. It has done the calculation, but it is not showing it because we have not actually told it to show it to us. Okay, because we have not actually run the code. When we now run the code, it shows us our result. Okay, so what I just did is I just told it console.log, log me this Z. So just give me my result, Z. Okay, so let's do the same thing here. Also log C, console log D, console.log DE. Now remember, console.log, you see a bracket, and then your value that you want to print will now be inside the bracket. So console.log Z, it gives us that result. Console.log C gives us that result. Console.log D gives us that result. Okay, so now let's now run the code. How do you run the code? We use a command called node. So in your terminal, just go to your terminal and type node space your file directory. So remember, my file directory is a desktop ttds js class. So it depends on how you did your own JS class slash your backslash and forward slash. Yes, this forward slash, or is it backslash? All these things are confusing. But it's this slash that I'm talking about. Slash the name of the file, one class.js. Okay, so node space your file directory, and then you click on enter. See, that's running for me. So console.log Z is minus 703. So if you run this calculation yourself, you see you get minus 705. Console.log C is 99985. Run this calculation, so you get the answer. Console.log D, which is 0, because 10 divided by 2 is 5 minus 0. So the answer is 0. See it here. Console.log E, 10 divided by 3 is 3 minus 1. The answer is 1. See it here. Okay, wait, let me do something. I think let me do something that will be helpful. Let me do this. Let me say Z is equal to Z is equal to comma. Very good. Now let me run this code again. So here's the thing. I've already run this code before. So instead of me typing, because you'll be like, do I have to now type node this again? It's too stressful. So what I just do was I go to my terminal, I click on my up arrow. So the up arrow just brings me my previous code that I just wrote. So if I click on it again, see, these are just the codes that I've been running before. Those that I've been running before. And if I click on down, I just use my navigation to navigating through my codes. So my up arrow brings me to the code I've run before. Click on start. Good. You now see Z is equal to 705 minus 705. C is this, D0, E is 1. Good. Now let me now go back to this guy. Still show you. Let me do another example for you. Let's say console.log person. Very good. Let me run this code again. Good. Let me expand this. So even those examples that we did, all these ones, all these fruits, you can just come here and do console.log fruit. Console dot log your brackets and then type your variable name. Remember, very, very important. Also the log fruits. It's going to print out the list of all these fruits for me. Let's see. See it here. Printed out apple, banana, orange, the list of all those fruits. Then I did console a log for my variable name person. See it here, person. Printed out these guys. Okay, so let me remove this so it's not confusing. Let me run the code again. Good. Person. It printed out all these guys for me. The name of this it printed out the variable name. Printed out what's inside that variable name. Victor, this. So if let's say I have two persons. I have two persons. So let me copy this. Let me show you that error that I was talking of when I use a var. See, a var does not show me any error. It still prints. Okay, it still prints. When I get this, let me change this one. Let me change one of them to Emeka. And now, you see, I have the same variable name, person. I have two same variable names, person. And I use the var for all of them. But now, if you notice, in the name of one of them is Emeka, the other one is Victor. Let's now see what will happen when I use the var. See, the var went and printed my last one, which is Victor. It skipped Emeka. You see, it skipped Emeka. But I wanted it to print the two of them. But he went and skipped Emeka and printed Victor, because it just prints your latest code for you, which is not what I want. So you see, that's why people don't normally use var a lot. People don't normally use var a lot. They rather use let, because when you're not using the same variable name again, let alerts you, let or const alerts you that, okay, you have used this variable name before, we'll go and trace, hey, or go and change it or something. That's how it works. So then let me see. Okay, now do the last one for this class, the logical operators. Example of how the logical operators work. Sorry, a moment. Let me move this. So it will not be printing plenty results for me. I don't need to be. Also the log brackets. Okay, so let me say A equal to B. A equal to B. Also dot log A greater than B. Just throwing around a couple of examples. Also dot log, let me just C and E this time around. C less than E. Good. Let's do another one. Console the log X. Also, we don't, let me do non-group examples. Let's say not equal to Y. Okay. I'll just write everything once so I just see everything. So console the log. So the log from like me combine A equal to B and A greater than B. Good. A equal to B or C less than E. Let me do less than or greater than. Let me do less than. C less than E. And then do one that is a little bit lengthier. I'm going to throw in a couple of examples for you. Consider log A equals B and C less than E and X not equal to Y. X not equal to Y. And the last one, trust me, the last one, no, call it a day. Sorry, the last one. Now let me just do this. Good. Let me just do this. So now when I now, okay, I want to put comma. So now when I now run this code again, good. You know, see, our first one is A equal to B false. What is that? What was our A? Our A is 10, B is 5. Is A equal to B? A is not equal to B. Flags here false. Okay. Our second one is A greater than B. A is greater than B, 10 is greater than 5. Is true. Okay. Our third one is C less than E. What is our C? Our C is 99985. Our E is 1. C is not less than E. C false. Okay. Our fourth one is X is not equal to Y. X is not equal to Y. X is 10. Y is 13. X is not equal to Y. So it's true. See, our fourth one is true. Our fifth one that is false. Let us see what it said. A is equal to B and A is greater than B. So A is equal to B. A is equal to B, which is not true, but A is greater than B. But if you remember, our and is that both conditions must be met for it to be true. Remember your truth table. Both must be met for it to be true. And if you see from this one, both of them were not met. So it gave us a false. Same thing with this one. A is equal to B. A is equal to B. A is not equal to B. Or C is less than E. C is less than. What's our C? Our C is this, and our E is this, and our E is this. So A is not even equal to B, and C is not even less than E, which is a false. Because our all tells us that one must be true, at least one. But in this case, none of them were true. Give us a false. Then our last one, same thing. If you go through the last one, you see it here. Same thing. A is equal to B, and C is okay. Let's see. A is equal to B. A is not even equal to B. So one is already false. And he told us that all of them must be true for and one is already false. So which means that automatically we're already going to have a false, even if you cross-check the rest. Okay. Then same thing for let's go for B. A is equal to B. A is not equal to B. Okay, but we're using it or A is not equal to B. Or C is less than E. C is not less than E. Okay, but no issue. Or X is not equal to Y, and X is not equal to Y, which is true. So which means that at least one of them is already true. That's why it gave us a true here. Okay, so basically this is all. This is everything that we have for today. I'll create a day here. But if there's any question along the way, maybe as you're going through the video, do let me know. Or maybe you need this code that I wrote here. Let me know. I'll send it to you so that you can practice. But please make sure that you practice JavaScript. JavaScript is something that you really need to practice for you to learn. Okay, it's not something that you just do one off and you think you master it. No, you're kidding yourself. I remember back in those days, they would tell us mathematics is something that you practice every day for you to master. Same thing with JavaScript, just that JavaScript is worse than mathematics. JavaScript, now if you don't practice it, you are gone. Even me, as I am right now, I still forget some things and I'm still practicing. Every developer still practice all the time. Okay, because it's always changing. It's not like mathematics where the formula is always constant. No, in JavaScript, things change. Things change. You can hear it. You can come tomorrow and hear that. Okay, we are no longer doing this thing this way. We're not doing it the other way. And if you're not up to date, you will not know why your code is no longer okay. You don't know that okay because they have changed the rules of how this and this is now being done. Okay, so make sure you practice JavaScript as often as you can. Okay, so first start with this one, go through this video again and again, and then try to write these things on your own. Try to replicate them on your own. Okay, and then I believe things will be easier as you go on. So if you have any question, do let me know. Have a nice day.